So here we have it, the all-new iPhone 16 Pro. This is Apple's new flagship iPhone for the year with some minor improvements over the 15th generation iPhone. We get a new camera, better battery life, better performance, you get the gist. But this one has also become the most controversial iPhone yet, and we even see that reflected in Apple's decreased sales numbers. But before we get talking about the iPhone 16 Pro, let's do the quick unboxing. Now the overall unboxing experience is pretty much the same as the base model 16. You get a sleek little box, and inside you have the iPhone itself and just a woven cable. So that's pretty much it. There's not much to it. You don't get any other accessories. And here we have the iPhone 16 Pro in the natural titanium color. I think this is probably the best looking one out of the bunch. Now, first impressions on just the overall fit and finish, it is quite nice and premium. It just feels very familiar to the base model 16 in the hand, or even just the 15 models. I have no complaints about the way it feels in the hand. It's very comfortable. It does feel a lot heavier and much denser compared to the base model 16. The 16 base just feels kind of hollow and light. Now, the first thing I noticed when powering up the iPhone 16 Pro is the new slimmer bezels. It is slimmer than the 15, and it's the slimmest one yet. And even just comparing it side to side from the base model 16, it is definitely noticeable. Now, in this review today, I'm not going to talk about how great or how bad the phone is. I want to give you an honest review about what I really think about the 16. We all know the new generation phones are going to have performance upgrades, camera upgrades. It's gonna be a little bit faster, a little bit better battery, and I don't feel like I need to elaborate a lot on that. You just kind of get the gist of it. The main thing I wanted to focus on is the controversies about the iPhone 16 Pro and why a lot of people are saying it's not really a Pro phone anymore. You see, over the years, there are always two types of iPhones. You get the base model and you get the Pro model. And the difference between them is quite significant. The base model being just your average phone, it has all your basic features, everything that you would need. And the Pro comes into the picture when you are someone who wants better performance, better speeds. But this year around, the differences between the 16 and the 16 Pro have become so minuscule that they practically feel like the same exact phone. Both of these phones have 8 gigabytes of RAM, the same processor, except the Pro model has one extra GPU core, but all the other features that are new to the 16 lineup are available in either version. The only difference is really just get one extra camera for the telephoto zoom, a 4 mic array, which honestly sounds exactly the same when you're recording videos, one extra GPU core, maybe slightly better battery life, and of course you get the ProMotion display. So let's talk a little bit about the problems with the iPhone 16 Pro and why a lot of people are complaining about it. The first thing is the ProMotion display. Now the ProMotion display is a 120 Hz display, meaning it's a higher refresh rate, it's gonna have much smoother response times, better visuals, and the 120 Hz is not a fixed refresh rate, it's a variable one, meaning it changes depending on the task that you're doing. But in Apple's attempt to improve the battery life of the 16 Pro, they've actually reduced the 120 Hz down to 80 when you're actually using the phone. Any sort of fast movement on the phone or scrolling through, swiping around, you're actually only seeing 80 Hz. You're not seeing the 120. The only times you're really gonna see the 120 is if you're slowly scrolling, but anything that's fast jumps all the way down to 80. And because of that, you can feel some inconsistencies because it's constantly jumping between 120 to 80, back to 120, and it's all happening in real time within a split second. Now the base model iPhone 16 has 60 Hz and it's not variable, meaning it's always running at the same refresh rate. So the overall usage is just very consistent. Another complaint about the display is that there is a dead zone. So with the introduction of the new camera control button, if you lay your hand over here or lay your finger on this edge, anywhere remotely close to the button, it makes the entire touchscreen unresponsive. It just freezes up and you can't do anything. Now, I don't know exactly what is going on with that. I don't know if this is a fix that can be done via software, or maybe there are some hardware limitations that can't really be programmed out. And now that issue is not exclusive to the 16 Pro. The 16 actually has the same exact issue. But in this video, I also wanted to give you guys a real review, an honest review, because a lot of these content creators are inflating things or exaggerating things. And what I mean by that is in real world testing or real world usage, you don't really run into any of these issues unless you try to run into these issues. The whole screen issue with, the unresponsiveness only really happens if you're laying your hand on that area while trying to touch the touchscreen. If you think about it, who uses their phone like this, right? No one does that. Because if you really think about the way you use your phone, right? Your finger is not completely flat. You know, you have a little bit of a gap and it's a little raised. You know, you're not laying your hand on here like that, like a pancake. The only real issue that I can agree with is pretty much the variable refresh rate. You know, the jumping back and forth from 80 hertz to 120. I gotta say it's not super noticeable, but if you are really focused on it, you can kind of tell that it's jumping back and forth. Even if your phone is running at 80 hertz, that is still faster than 60 hertz. It's significantly smoother. Because if you're scrolling through things really quickly and it's at 80 hertz, you don't really notice it because the screen is already kind of blurring as you're scrolling through. I think the main complaint here is that you're paying this premium to get a pro model phone that should perform like a pro model phone, but it's not. And to be honest, I think the reason why the iPhone 16 Pro this year is seemingly a little weak is because they made the base model 16 way too good. Because if we look at the iPhone 16 Pro as a standalone iPhone, it is a better phone compared to the previous generation. You are getting more features, you are getting better performance. Imagine this scenario. Imagine they kept the iPhone 16 Pro exactly the way it is, but for the iPhone 16, they dumbed it down a little bit. They gave it a little bit less RAM, a little bit less performance. Then you will start to feel like the iPhone 16 Pro is a significant upgrade. It's all about the perspective here, right? Because if you look at the spec sheet of the iPhone 16 Pro and compare it to the previous generation, the 15 Pro, there is a pretty significant difference. You are getting even slimmer bezels. You are getting better battery life, better GPU and CPU performance. You get the addition of the camera control switch. You get AI, you get this and that, right? So when you compare it to the previous generation, the 16 Pro does seem to be the better phone. I feel like people are just being a little bit nitpicky with it because they expected a lot more of a difference between the base model and the Pro models. The camera control button, personally, not a fan of it. I'd rather use the action button and program it to the camera instead. I just feel like the placement is a little bit strange, you know, being down on the side, and a lot of times I mistakenly press it, but that's an issue for the entire 16 lineup, having the camera control button. And sure, yes, the refresh rate issue is, you know, very prominent. I feel quite hopeful that Apple will address it based on how many complaints they're getting, and potentially they might even fix it in a future software update. The only thing I'm curious to see is that if they do fix it, so to speak, is it going to affect the battery life? Or did they find a new way to program it and optimize it where it retains that high battery life without having to sacrifice on refresh rate? But overall, I gotta say the iPhone 16 Pro is a pretty solid phone. I do like a lot of the new upgrades on here, especially the slimmer bezel. Let me know in the comment section below if you think the iPhone 16 Pro is not a buy or if it is a buy compared to the 16. Now, just to recap this entire video, I gotta say both of the new 16 base models and Pro models are very good phones. You can't go wrong with any of them. I think the only reason why you would want to buy the Pro model is if you want the bigger screen, the better battery, and potentially the extra zooming for the camera. But other than that, there's no really a big reason why you should get a Pro. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe I helped you open up your eyes to see the reality of things, that they're maybe not as bad as they seem. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and a comment below. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button as well as turning on the post notifications to see when I upload. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Peace.